Hello everyone, I believe you can hear me. Welcome to today's webinar. It's amazing to see that so many people are interested in AI and how it can help cybersecurity. Today, our topic is cybersecurity in AI era. And even if you're a cybersecurity enthusiast, cybersecurity professional, or you just kind of stumbled upon this webinar by chance, we are happy to have you, and I'm sure you're gonna take something valuable from this webinar. Yernay, why don't you tell us what are we going to talk about, what our goal is for today?
Well, Eric, today we have two very exciting topics for our audience. First, we're going to present how we're able to use AI to extract useful information out of unstructured data. And after that, we're going to show how we can use this data to then automate various processes. These two topics are obviously applicable beyond cybersecurity, but obviously this is the scope of today's presentation, so we'll focus on that.
Awesome. Thank you. And just a quick side note before you get too excited. So when we're referring to AI today, we're going to strictly focus on generative AI. So larger language models such as ChatGPT, because honestly, we don't want to be here all day. So first, some housekeeping is in order.
That is correct, Eric. So first, please make sure that you're connected to audio. We don't really want to talk to ourselves for 45 minutes, so we wish that you could hear us. Also, a quick disclaimer. As you can probably hear in my voice, I managed to catch a pretty unfortunate cold yesterday, so I apologize for any disturbances that might cause. As you have already noticed, you are muted. All attendees are muted. This is simply a matter of practicality, as there's a couple of hundred of you here, so yeah, it's a bit it's a matter of practicality again. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A section of this webinar in WebEx, and we'll attempt to answer those questions as best we can during the presentation. If we don't answer a question during the presentation, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. And if we still won't be able to answer a question, you will receive a reply via email.
Awesome. Yes, this webinar is recorded, so no note taking whatsoever is necessary. You'll get the recording plus the presentation. So let's now jump in. And Yernay, can you tell us about why are we talking about AI? Why would this be valuable?
Well, Eric, as you know, the job of a cybersecurity analyst is one of those professions that really feels the pain of having to wade through loads and loads of data in order to try to extract those few tiny bits and pieces of valuable information. So when we saw what AI was capable of, we knew we had to jump at the opportunity to try to implement it into our workflows so that we alleviate at least some of that pain. So Eric, tell us what are your credentials? Why are you the one to listen to when it comes to this topic?
I'm sure there's a lot of knowledgeable people on this WebEx call as well, but I worked as a cybersecurity analyst, so I solved incidences, so I saw firsthand how tedious and a lot of work we have to do, sift through a lot of alerts. Also, I'm working as an XOR engineer. What basically that means is that I build automations to automate the process, and basically not just to make the analyst's life easier, but also so they can solve incidences and protect our customers better and faster. So how about you, Yernay?
Well, Eric, I'm currently an active senior cybersecurity analyst. So I feel even more pain than usually such analysts do. I'm also a technical account manager, which basically means that I'm the main point of contact for a handful of our customers when it comes to communications between our department and themselves. I also write reports, which can be time consuming, and AI can help a lot with that, as we will see during this presentation. As far as AI competencies go, I'm an enthusiast. I became one after the current LLM hype really got flared up this year. So I saw it, I knew I just had to jump in and start implementing it in my job to make it easier. So now that we've introduced ourselves, let's talk a bit about our company.
Yes, we have some executive orders here we have to fill out. So first, if you don't know, we are Neil, we are part of Conscia, and Conscia offers cutting-edge services in data centers, networking, cloud computing, and of course, cybersecurity. We offer this to very diverse clientele, from government agencies to telecommunications and to businesses, of course. And we are Europe's largest security operation, one of the Europe's largest security operation centers, and we pride ourselves that we have a network of knowledge and are a backbone of customer success. So if we look at it, how this looks on a map, so we have offices in 6 countries. We have Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, Norway, Sweden, and of course Slovenia. We have more than 1,000 customers, and we're proud that we have a high rating in customer satisfaction and of course employee satisfaction, which we both can attest today because we really like working here. Okay, so with this duties out of the way, let's just go into agenda. So what's our agenda for the day, Jene?
Well, Eric, we managed to cut down today's material into 4 main topics. First, we'll scare our audience a bit with a presentation of all the new cyber threats that are out in the wild because of AI. Then we will show what we are doing to combat them with implementing AI into cybersecurity. The third chapter, so to speak, will be about getting dirty and actually showing how we will use AI in our processes. And then lastly, we will talk a bit about the role of us cybersecurity professionals in AI integrations, what each of us can do.
So thank you, Jene. So let's talk about, so when generative AI came to the field, so what changed? What changed with cybersecurity threats? So to sum it up, basically not much. So techniques are still the same. The only difference is that it's going to get faster. So cybersecurity attacks are going to get faster, easier, and there's going to be way more of them. So let's unpack that statement. So for phishing, we're still going to receive our emails from a Zimbabwean prince telling us that we inherited a lot of money, and it's only going to be very coherent and is going to be grammatically correct. This basically shows that the language barrier is almost non-existent. So any phishing campaign can be written to in a local language. So here's one statistics. In 2022, the phishing actually was on the rise by 47.2%. And we predict that this is only going to get to increase or continue on that trend. So next thing, so we also predict there's going to be way more deepfake media attacks. So what is that? This is audio, video, and images that were generated by AI. And this is basically the tactic is the same as phishing. It's used to deceive and trick the listener or the other person to do what the attacker says. It was also used for misinformation, as you might have heard online for Ukraine, when the Ukraine offensive began. So both sides used that. And here I found like very interesting statistic as well. There was one survey done by iProf. They surveyed 16,000 participants in 8 countries, and they stated based on their report that 71% actually don't know what a deep fake is. And this is kind of a worrying statistic because I mean, you need to know what the person on the other side is, if you even don't know if it's a threat or not. So next thing is maybe a question to our audience. So have you ever used ChatGPT for coding or to help you with code? So like you can do that, so can the attackers. So they can use it to have a network of knowledge. So basically find out how to execute their attack or how some services work. It can also be used to improve malware or create scripts. And it can also be used to create adaptive malware. This means that the code changes as it goes. So it's very adaptive. So okay, I would like to walk you through two scenarios and to bring this topic a little bit closer to you. So first, let's imagine that you, the participant, you are the executive. So if you're not yet the executive, congratulations, you just got promoted. So you got a call from your CEO of a parent company, and he says that he urgently needs $250,000 for some urgent business in the company. You hear the CEO's voice and it matches the picture, and you don't question it and you approve the transaction. And only later is known that this was actually an AI generated voice to trick you, and it was as real as the CEOs would be. And this is a real world example that happened to a UK-based energy company, and they were defrauded for a lot of money. And maybe a question for you, the audience. So what would you do if someone called you? Would you question your own boss, or would you approve the transaction or some sensitive information? Would you share it with them? So just something to think about. Okay, so let's look at a next illustration or scenario. In this case, we are a large company, and our employee clicked on an email, opened the attachment, and nothing was triggered. It was normal. Not only, unbeknownst to him, he actually triggered a dormant, very adaptive malware, which uses AI. And as time goes on, this malware, when it executes, so first it's benign, but then when it executes, it changes its code. So it's a polymorphic code. And at that time, it can be used to as a keylogger, so extract passwords and other damnful information. So this example was not based on real life example. It was basically a proof of concept based that some researchers from HYS did, and they just wanted to showcase that the malware can, how the future of cybersecurity threats with malware are going to be. So they tested it as against some well-known EDR, and they not even once it was detected. So that's why it means that we need to really pay attention how to improve our services. But to calm you down a little bit, these researchers work with communities and also others, so that to improve. So they share this knowledge to how to protect us. And it's not all doom and gloom. As cyber attackers can use AI, so can we. So this is just a short list of strategies to use to protect your organizations. I'm sure you saw a similar list in countless other security webinars that you attended. I would like to focus on just on the first two, since we went through the scenario. So first, the most important thing is employee training. So as phishing attacks increase even more and become hard to distinguish them from real ones, we really need to focus our training on employees so they can have the awareness to identify and question. And also we need to establish some sort of protocols. So when there's a person on the other side and he is asking for very sensitive information, that we have protocols to identify who that person is, that it matches. And this is did you ever heard of a book, The Art of Deception? I mean, it's amazing. If you haven't read it yet, I really recommend it. It was written by Kevin Mitnick, who was one of the greatest hackers of all time. And he details examples of how social engineering works. Not only that, he also lays out all of these protocols in detail at the end of the book. So you can basically just copy paste. Obviously, it's also important to incorporate AI into this. So to distinguish if it's a phishing attack or not. And a lot of providers are already on the road or already doing that. The next thing is to implement AI-driven defense. What this basically means is to purchase the tools, advanced tools that are able to detect anomalous behavior on the network, not just on the endpoint, on the cloud, identity, so email, so all of that. And also to hire highly skilled professionals. If it's up to your company size, also consider building your own SOC or outsourcing it. So, and remember, this is a very high level security. So we need to have a lot of steps in play to be able to defend against them. And we can, because the knowledge is out there. So, one second. So now let's talk about the main thing that we gathered here today. We are here to showcase you some very useful AI use cases that you can use. So there's a lot of, and here I'm going to demonstrate you the data extraction. So there's a lot of text data out there. So if you're an IT security professional or cybersecurity professional, there's also other data from logs, for example, so a lot of text that is really hard to extract. And if you're working as in a management, I believe that you read a lot of text, and that takes a lot of your time. So there's also other examples such as customer reviews, financial data. So here we ask ourselves, how can we extract data from this which is hard to extract, and make it into a format that we can use right away? So either it's to build data sets that are clean, ready to go, so you can do your analysis, your machine learning, or if you're in other roles, or if you're reading reports, how can we summarize that and extract really important information so you can go to work? So for example, such as growth figures, main arguments of a document, and so on. So I'm going to show you how we did implement this extraction in our SOC. So here in the first column, we see customer query, what that is. So when an analyst is researching an incident, he sometimes has some questions. He's not sure about whether something is malicious or not. So in that case, he sends a customer query to the customer to confirm. And like you can see, a lot of work was put into this email, because the analyst basically analyzed the whole alert, and we really wanted to use this data, but it was hard to extract. For example, here is an example how we extracted usernames, host names. These are, as professionals, you know that every company has their own, or even a department has their own lingo of how to name their usernames, their host names. And if we use just standard scripts to extract this data, it's very hard. So that's why we can use AI to extract that. Not only that, we can also classify and label. So for example, in the fifth column, there's an incident type. Here I defined multiple categories based of incident that I want to categorize. So for example, here is man in the middle, similar domains, malware, and so on. And based on that, the AI, when we feed it that customer query, it can classify it with very high accuracy. Not only that, like I said before, we also want a short summary of the communication. So why do we do that? We do this because we want to solve incidents faster for our customers. And this is done by, so when another attack that is similar that comes, the analyst also knows, aha, this already happened. So I see the history, the knowledge base that came with that. And also, it can also be used to analyze this data and build machine learning models from it. And in this case, we can use this data as we go. We don't have to manually extract this information. So this is another example. Here, I just wanted to demonstrate to you that such large language models are very good with text, obviously. They don't care about some errors. So if we pretend that this is some kind of a customer review or something else, you can see that it correctly classify it as based on the categories that we defined before. And this is very useful. We can get to work right away. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that. So not only we can use this to extract valuable information and get it ready to work, so we don't spend a lot of our time processing. We can put that process to an AI model and let them do the tedious task. We can also use this to anonymize or obfuscate. So for example, we already extracted the information. We can also, if we want it for our use case, we can also then anonymize it. Ask the AI model to anonymize this. Next, we can also tag documents. So for example, if we have threat intelligence reports, we can tag certain documents based on the customer's preferences. So for example, based on the location, region, sentiment, political leaning, and anything else. So we can recommend certain articles to them based on their preferences. And with that, you can also, if you want, you can tag your whole documents, and they're very easy to search. Next, obviously, if we don't want to use AI, we can just feed it a little bit of data to see the context, and he can tell us and build an extraction script from scratch. Here, I would like to tell you just a little bit of word of warning. So if you use ChatGPT, the commercial version, really be careful what you put into that, so you don't put any sensitive data. Of course, you can opt out of that, but it's not very safe. That's why we used, for this case, we used Azure OpenAI, which is a private instance. It's not shared with anyone, and we anonymize the data before it's sent to the model. So we make sure that the data is protected. So now I would direct my words to the next very useful use case. So Jernej is going to show us how you can take routine processes and automate them. So like any processes that need work. So Jernej, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. So yeah, like Eric pointed out, now that he showed us how we can extract useful data, I will demonstrate how we can automate processes using AI. So let's imagine a common scenario. We have a person and they want to write a report on a topic. Now, if they want to employ help of AI, the most straightforward way is to jump on ChatGPT, make some research. So go to Google, find articles, documentation, books even possibly, and try to find any chapters, any parts of those reports that talk about the topic we're interested in, and feed it to ChatGPT, basically copy and paste. and then ChatGPT can spit out a pretty good report usually. Now, with this process, we already saved a lot of time because writing a report is very lengthy. You have to think about how you will present the data, how you will format it. So it's already pretty useful, but the other part, it can also be just as, if not more, time consuming. So the research part, the Googling part. And let's think about how we can automate that as well, so that we have to do as little work as possible. Now, to achieve that, base ChatGPT won't be enough, because well, it's pretty terrible at searching the web. Usually it just checks the first 2 results it finds at best, and then that's pretty much it. That's why we have to upgrade it, and I will show how we can upgrade it. We will employ the use. Well, we will employ the use of a tool called AutoGen. And what is AutoGen? It's an open source tool made by Microsoft. For those of you who don't know what open source means, it's basically the code of this tool is available to anyone for free of charge. Anyone can copy it, make changes to it that suit their own needs. So what does it actually do? It allows us to upgrade our ChatGPT and define a set of AI agents that have autonomy, roles, capability, and specialized capabilities which allow them to achieve those roles, rather to serve these roles. They're able to achieve the tasks of those roles. You can also define the interactions between these agents, so how they behave with which agents can interact with which agents. So let's think of an example of how to employ this. Let's imagine that we are a security professional. We wish to write a report on a topic, for example, the one that you see on the screen, patch management, and we use AutoGen to define a couple of agents, which are basically upgraded copies of ChatGPT with access to various tools, with some autonomy. And let's say that we're done with the work and we make our request to the first agent we created. Let's call it a query agent. Now, this agent is set up that any input it receives, any requests, will be turned into a comprehensive list of web search queries. So it will take a request and then create a list of possible queries you can use in Google to find the information about the topic that's in the request. Now, this query agent will pass this list on to a web researcher agent, which is a ChatGPT that has the ability to search the web. Only it's quite upgraded. It has quite an upgraded capability. There is some coding to do if we wish to achieve that, which is a bit out of scope of this presentation, but you can take my word that it works. So this web researcher agent then can scour the internet through the queries that it received. It will find raw articles, raw documentation, and pass it on to the next agent, which we can call a summarizer agent. This agent will take this raw data it receives from the web researcher and turn entire articles into a single paragraph, for example. So just take the keynotes, the key information, and present it in a shortened way. It will then send this shortened information to a report creation agent, which will basically just reformat it, make it more presentable, and just like in the base example with base ChatGPT, it will spit out a report. So you can see that we really automated the entire process. All a human has to do is make the initial request, and then read the report that they get. This on your screen is an example of a report that we generated with this architecture, with this example. Now you can read through it. I'm sure you can find some signs that it was made by an AI, but I don't think it's very different from what a human would write. So now that I've shown you the tool of that we're going to use to automate the processes, let's learn a bit about the processes we wish to automate. Because if you wish to automate a process, you have to actually know the process inside and out, and so you have to be familiar with it. Let's say. So this is a flowchart showing the usual workflow of a security analyst in a security operations center or SOC. So the job of such an analyst is to monitor any alerts that they receive from an environment they are keeping an eye on. These alerts are represented as the green and red sirens on the left. And you can compare this job to the work of a triage nurse in a hospital. So what does such a nurse do? She or he basically takes a look at the patients coming in, and then decides what should happen to them, what should be done with them. Are their symptoms mild enough that they can be sent home? Do they need to talk to a specialist? Do they need to go to the ER, so the emergency room? And in a similar way, a security operations center analyst, a triage analyst, takes a look at the alerts they receive, and then decide what should be done with them. If the alert is about a behavior that's obviously false positive, then that's great, because that's the least amount of work for the analyst. All they have to do is close the alert, maybe send in a request to tune this behavior so that it doesn't cause alerts anymore. And if the alert needs more investigation, obviously they take a deeper look. And if they find out that this was caused by an actual attack, they can escalate it to an incident response team. So now that we've learned about the tools we're going to use and the process we wish to automate, let's take a look at the actual sort of an example of what we wish to achieve in our department. So there is another chart on the screen right now. This will which is showing sort of the process that we're trying to implement. So now, instead of a person, you are seeing these agents that we had talked about before. And I know what you're thinking right now, very likely. It doesn't look like there are any humans involved. I can assure you that this is merely a proof of concept. We will try to develop it, test it out, see what works, see what doesn't. And even if it largely is able to achieve its goals, the analysts will still be involved to a large extent. They will have the final say in if the AI is doing its job or not. They will still have to scour through this data and check that everything is in order. So let's go through the process now. Our goal, so when an alert would come in this scenario into our system, the first entity, I guess, that would take a look at it would be an analyst agent. This agent would have would receive this alerts data, as well as the larger context of the customer's environment. for example. For example, the history of the alerts or any specialties about the assets on the customer's environment. What kind of servers are there? Which ones are maybe open to the internet? What kinds of endpoints are there? What vulnerabilities are on them, and so on. And this analyst agent would basically do the same thing an analyst would. It would make a judgment on whether or not this alert is obviously about a benign behavior, and in a similar way it would pass it on to a tuning process, where such behavior could be ignored in the future. If this judgment cannot be made, it would basically create a list of things that would have to be investigated. It would pass it on to another agent, which we would call an investigation agent, which would be able to find more context about this behavior. It would be equipped with tools with which to scour, for example, through the customer's environment. And additionally, it would likely be able to search the web, use online tools, and there is probably 1,000 more use cases which we could implement. This agent would then collect its findings, write a report, and send it off to the analyst agent, which would then read through that, see if it would be able to make a final judgment or if more investigation has to be done. Now, if it would determine again that the behavior was benign, it would close the case. Same would happen if there was an actual attack, but it was prevented or unsuccessful and there is no further danger. However, if it would detect that there is a possibility that more harm could be done, it would notify the humans in charge. So this is another use case we're thinking about. So sort of connected to the initial example we gave at the start of this topic. I mentioned earlier that I was a technical account manager, so the main communicator between our department and our clients. As part of this role, I also write a lot of reports for our clients. These reports are mainly focused on presenting our customers with the state of their environments from a security standpoint. So what sorts of attacks happened this month? What incidents? What kinds of alerts are most prevalent? I also give my analysis on what could be done to mitigate these threats and give out recommendations. We also provide, as part of our service, vulnerability management or vulnerability assessment. So we let our customers know which vulnerabilities are most prevalent in their environment. And as you can imagine, that can be very time consuming, as any analysis is. And we could really use the help of AI, because it can take up to a week of an analyst's time to make these reports for multiple customers. And yeah, basically, we would go through a similar process when developing such a solution as before. Define agents, define researcher agents, define report writing agents, and so on. But this is still very much a proof of concept, and we will see how it goes in the future.
Yes, and this obviously it frees up analysts' time, but not to do anything else. But he can then focus on more complex tasks, right? So I mean, it's very useful, and of course, this is not going to be just fill out and send, right, Irene?
Of course not.
It's going to be basically generated, and then the analyst or this man in charge is going to look at it and make additional recommendations to it.
Obviously.
So let's look at the role of cybersecurity professionals. So we covered a lot of ground today, and our main message is that the AI is here to stay. So as cyber attacks, and cybercriminals use AI, we also we should adopt it. And how would that translate to our role as a cybersecurity professionals? So one thing that is good, so we will have less routine tasks and we will be able to focus on more complex problem solving. And this evolves our role. So we're not only going to be the ones at the screen looking at a lot of tables, we will also have the opportunity to work with AI and enhance our career in that direction. So, and maintain it, improve it, and check that everything is working. And something that I'm really glad and hope we achieve as soon as possible is to reduce the analyst burnout. And this is, and with that, we can offer better services to our customers. So thank you very much for listening to us and joining this webinar. If you have any follow-up questions that you wouldn't share in this WebEx, please make sure to contact us at the email addresses provided. If you're interested in the services or a consultation, you can reach out to the Conscia office or the account manager to book a meeting to see how this can be implemented in your environment, how we can protect you. So now we will open up for questions. Well, thank you very much for joining, and I hope if there's any demand, we meet again here. So thank you very much.
That's correct. Okay, thank you.